All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
What's going on, Colts Nation? I'm Lawrence Owen. With me, as usual, is my guy, Colts Loyalist. We are here, Colts Law Live, and we are going to discuss the pass rush depth, right? This is a good little thing I thought that we would talk about 2 weeks exactly before training camp begins. Last year, we thought pass rush might look okay because the pass rush looked great during training camp. Did it not, Loyalist, last year?
Yes, our offensive line was making them D tackles and D ends looking amazing.
Right? So it's a little bit worrisome because, you take training camp with kind of a grain of salt because it's your own guys versus your own guys. And last year, again, our tackle position just was not good. And then, obviously our guard position, we had backups in there the whole time, because of guys that were hurt. Center was hurt, had issues all training camp. And that's the thing, when one group is really performing well, you want to look at it and go, is it the group that's doing well or is the other group doing really, really crappy, right? And that's the scary thing. So I want to go over the depth that we have this year heading into training camp and on both sides, kind of mainly for the pass rush, but the D-line in general. And, who they're going to be matching up against on the offensive line so that we can kind of get a little idea of what to expect and whether we should temper our expectations or not. Just want a quick shout out to Zach Erlinson and Ant Rogers. What up, Ant? Appreciate you being in here. Appreciate you as well, Zach. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're not subscribed and tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live or upload a video. And a quick little announcement. Every time we go live from here on out, we're going to have a little bit of a fundraiser. The link in the description, right there at the top of the description where it says donations. We're going to be keeping track. We're going to give massive shout outs to people who donate money from now until training camp. Okay. First off, it's going to help us get to training camp, right? Because it's gas money, parking fees. And also, any money that gets over that, we're going to buy items, whether it be shirts, jerseys, footballs, whatever, get them signed by players, and then give them away here on this channel right afterwards, doing giveaways with extra money that is made from these donations. So please, if you can help, feel free to do so. It'll help out this channel dramatically. Thank you so much. Now, going into what we're looking at, first off, there's a lot of very familiar faces on this team from last year, but there's a lot that's not here, right? Guys that's not here right now, obviously, the Dragon, Kimoko Ture, not here. So he's not part of this depth chart no more. But we replaced him with what many would consider to be a proven long-term talent in Yannick Ngakoue. All right, who is going to be the starter, who's going to be that 9-wide Leo. And, he's basically taking over where Kwity Paye played last season. Is that an upgrade from Kwity Paye last year, Loyalist?
Yeah. You said that, like you said, Yannick has proved to be that solid, consistent producer. He's not the 18 to 20 type of guy, but he's double digits, very consistent. And the thing is like you said, we had Kwity and we had Ture. Ture couldn't stay healthy, got like 22% of the snaps for the whole season. And you're talking about Kwity. I mean, this is no slight to Kwity. I mean, he was a rookie last year, and was just honestly trying to learn the basics and learn how to become a pro and stuff. I hope to see more from him this year for sure.
Absolutely. And, he has been a proven person with the DC he's got right now in Gus Bradley. As a rookie, he came into the Jaguars and blew it up under Gus Bradley, right? I mean, he did. He blew it up under Gus Bradley. Gus, he ends up getting traded. Gus Bradley leaves. They get reunited last year, and Yannick looked really good under Gus Bradley last year. Then Gus Bradley lost his job because new head coach and everything. We just reached over there and said, "We'll take both of you. Come on, let's do this. Let's do this." The guy beside him, DeForest Buckner, had a little bit of a down year last year at the 3 tech. Now, granted, being that there was not a lot of, consistent edge pressure, he was double teamed and triple teamed a ton last year. All right. So, and yet he still got in the backfield, did a lot of different stuff, created havoc when he could in the run game, made the quarterbacks, under pressure and leave the pocket when he could, that kind of stuff. But this year, if we can get consistent play out of those edges, DeForest Buckner should see an increase in his stats. Do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like you said, last year, he was being double and triple teamed so much, they were moving him around and everything. And I get it. He's got the abilities to do that. I mean, Defoe's a bad man. But the thing is when you sit there and you put him in a spot that he's comfortable, and like you said, now with Yannick, a second-year Kwity Paye, who I really do think that we're going to see make a nice little jump, from last year to this year. That's just going to free him up so much more. Or if they do focus on him, and still give him those double teams and triple teams, I'm sure these guys will be able to make him pay a lot better this year than they were able to last year. A lot more keeping him at where he's home and comfortable at and where the defensive line performs the best.
Well, beside DeForest Buckner is another defensive tackle who likes to play the 1 tech for the most part. That's Grover Stewart. This is a guy that a couple years ago got his extension. Has been making money and been worth it. Been worth it for the most part. He is a good run stuffer. He's one of the reasons why the Colts have a top 10 run defense in the NFL and has been that for years and years. But he lost quite a bit of weight last year, like 30 pounds. Wow. In one off season, lost 30 pounds. And now he's got a quicker step. So, if he's not double teamed, there's a good chance he could do the exact same thing. But everything keys on getting the outside pressure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we haven't mentioned him, but Coach Ollie, he's talked about how he wants this to be stop the quarterback, rush to the quarterback, hair on fire. That's where Grover is going to be huge. Cause like you said, he has been a really, building block for that run stopping. And I feel like that's going to be put a little more onus on his shoulders. But like you said, you get these guys just going, flat out 100 miles an hour and stuff. I remember, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago when Grover was getting in there and getting, I think he had like 4.5 sacks or something. Hey, it wouldn't be too bad if our 1 tech can sit there and get another 5 or 6 sacks on the year, along with, like I said, the production that we think from the other guys. That'll look like a real nightmare for some of these defensive coordinators that they're going to have to address before the game even starts.
Oh, man, if he gets 4 to 6 sacks this season, that would be absolutely phenomenal. That'll tell you right there that the edge is already doing its job. Speaking of edge, we're going to talk about the other edge, Kwity Paye, who used to play the left end, now will be playing the right end. But in my opinion, that's more his speed. He played the run very, very well. And last year, to go along with what he was able to do in the pass rush game. And you want your strong side to be good against the run. Okay. Always, because you're going to be dealing with where the tight end generally lines up all the time, is right there off that right tackle. So Kwity may not have 10, 20, 15 sacks or something, but the fact that he'll be there and able to not only set an edge for the defense rather than the offense and not be moved out of the way, that would be a huge help to the pass rushers. Because if he's pushed out of the way, that means that the tight ends and stuff can come up and stop whoever if there's a blitz. Well, now granted, we're talking about Gus Bradley, who don't blitz a lot, but when it happens, you want him to be a free runner, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And Kwity, last year, like you said at the beginning of the show, you were like, last year, we were hopeful, This year feels a lot different. I mean, yes, we're still hopeful, but I feel like it's got more of a proven commodity. Because like I said, you look at the first, okay, I know 17, so it's hard to split it, but you look at the first 8 weeks of what Kwity did versus the last 9 weeks. I mean, he didn't have a single sack in the first 8 weeks. He did the majority of his sacking the quarterback and stuff on the second half of his season. You know, somebody else, remember how JT first half of the season, he was just getting acclimated. Second half, he started figuring it out. I'm not saying he can't be, but if he can sit there and build on that like JT did and elevate it to the next level, because like I said, what we saw in the second half of the season, you've seen more confidence, you've seen more of that secondary move, you know what I mean? And that's something that he's just going to keep developing. And we've always said year 2, year 3, that's where you really want and expect to see these guys jump off the page a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about last off season where, you know, every day, right, he was doing the exact same move. He wasn't working on counter moves or nothing like, what up, Shadow? Got someone up here wanting to say hi. But yeah, he was working on the same moves, you know, one move every day, same thing over and over and over. He wasn't working on counter moves. He was trying to learn the basic, because he didn't have much of a repertoire when it come to, you know, a tool belt used to get to the quarterback. Well, he's learned those. This offseason should be the season where he learns counter moves, right? And things of that nature, just to get that much better. And yeah, that'll be great. I think that you should see a bit of a jump in him, even though he is going from the left to the right. He still should have that type of jump. Let's talk about, it's all about depth. Pass rush is about depth. You got to be able to replace guys, keep your starters feeling fresh so that they can play well at the end of the game without dropping off too much, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, if your depth ain't very good, then the other team will know when to play certain plays because your good guys are not on the field at that time. Let's talk about over in the middle real quick. Generally pass rush, most of our pass rushers that are depth can play across the board, can play defensive tackle or defensive end. And one of the top guys that just played 6 games last year is Dio Dangbo, right? I mean, This is a guy we're expecting a big boost from this offseason. What are your expectations from Dio?
Now, see, for me, for Dio, this is his rookie year as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, like you said, the whole way everything got pushed back due to the injury that he had late and going into the combine and stuff, you know, 2 years ago. But for me, my expectations aren't real high for Dio, but what I love about Dio is, like, whenever Yannick needs a breather, you can slide Kwity over there, bring Dio in on the strong side, and I really think that you're going to sit there and find that still a good, comfortable lineup for this D line. Like you said, you know, these guys are so interchangeable. I know we're going to talk about them a little later, but you know, and it's not just these guys. You know, you got Tyquan Lewis. You know, I mean, who knows what'll happen with Ben Banagou? You know, maybe Gus Bradley can find the inner Banagou that takes what we always see at training camp and stuff, and maybe he can implement it and help them put it into the regular season and at least allow to put some film on for some other team.
Well, I mean, if Banagou could just perform well against guys that actually make football teams, that'd be a plus as well, because that's who we was blowing up last year, guys that didn't even make the team. Okay. But Dio, he's basically the exact same stature and size as DeForest Buckner. And I could see these two guys being that interchangeable, you know, him come in, replace, you know, DeForest. You still got the big 6 foot, 1,500 foot tall, 300-pound dude with long arms that could just reach around you playing, even though DeForest is sitting there getting his oxygen. You know, that's a scary thought. All right. Imagine those two guys together. Imagine if you're looking at 3rd and 10 or something, and you move Grover out and put Dio in his spot, you know, beside, DeForest Buckner. And that's a scary thought. That's a fast, scary pass rush defensive line right there.
Yes, sir. And like you said, the length is just it's ridiculous. I mean, these guys, that length has just got to be a nightmare. I mean, I never played, professionally, a little bit of, collegiately, but just guys with length just was always so difficult because they were able to keep you, offensive lineman wants that contact. Offensive lineman wants to put them in the ground. The D line wants to keep them at a distance and be able to just, shuck them one way or the other to make the play and stuff. And like you said, you look at Dio and DeForest, these guys have these massive levers. And like I said, it just, if you're sitting there and you're going full throttle and stuff, and how many times do we see Defo where he was holding them off with one hand and then, just keep running the play down the side and stuff. And then whenever you sit there and you get these guys working in coordination and stuff, which the training camp and stuff, hopefully the OTAs and all that will help them get that chemistry and get that quicker start in the season.
Absolutely. And hopefully we get rid of that Ohio State curse, okay? Because we got a couple Ohio State guys who have been having this injury issue since they've been on the Colts, since they came out of college. Now, one of them, most people know who he is because he's on the offense, and we're all praying. Come on, Paris. But we're also praying for the guy you mentioned earlier, Tyquan Lewis. When he's been on the field, he's been productive, right? I mean, the thing that took him out of the season was about to be a pick six, all right? A defensive lineman that had picked the ball off and was gone. And then there you go. ACL goes out, hopefully he could stay healthy because when he's on the field, this guy actually does a very, very good job, not just at defensive end, but at defensive tackle as well.
Yes. And as you know, my favorite defensive player over the last 20 years has been Robert Mathis. And when I look at Tyquan Lewis and that grit and that just blue collar, I'll do everything I need to do to get the job done stuff. That's what I sort of get whenever I think of Tyquan Lewis. But yet, like you said, his strength and his, adjustability, being able to play anywhere on that D line. I mean, I'm not saying I want him to be a one tech, but if you're in the NASCAR package and you want to throw him in there, I mean, that's an awful nice one tech for like 3rd and 15 or something.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, we've got other guys, right? We are deep. We spent a 5th round pick on another guy this past offseason named Eric Johnson. All right. I personally have had two interviews with him so far this offseason. He's a great dude, and he's all about getting better. And playing wherever he needs to be. But he's a defensive tackle that's got good speed and amazing ability. Like, he's very quick off the snap. His first step is amazing. And that's so important on the D line, is that first step. Try to get past that offensive line. So personally, that's one guy who I personally will be keeping a very close eye on this offseason. I know a lot of you are going to be out there and be like, oh, we got to keep an eye on Ben Banagoo and Dio and things. But no, I'm really big into Eric Johnson personally. I've talked to Brian Cox Jr. as well. He's a guy who's played for Buffalo and a couple other places, kind of been on the edge. He's played quite a bit, but he's jumped from team to team, get on the 53-man or get on a practice squad, then on the 53-man roster, then back on a practice squad, then back on a 50. But here's the thing. If a guy, he's got experience, he knows about football, all right? I mean, it's Brian Cox Jr. Maybe you've heard of his dad, right? So he's got knowledge. He has been coached by one of the best to ever play the game, all right? And he can bring that knowledge as well. And that's just more depth right there that we could use when we need it.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, when I see that acquisition, I sort of reflect back to the Danica Autry when they picked him up and stuff, and I see some similarities. I'm not saying that he'll produce at that level, but I'm not saying that he won't either. You know, I mean, maybe he's just the one of those young men that hasn't found the right fit for him. You know, maybe he sits there and gets in this Gus Bradley, Nate Ollie scheme, and things open up. You know, I mean, because like you said, when he's out there on the field, he's going to have a lot of interesting pieces. And something you were saying about Eric Johnson that I like is talk about a change of pace. You know, I mean, you sit there and you go from DeForest Buckner, this real lean, long-limbed guy, you know, and stuff, and then you go with this Eric Johnson's more the undersized, like you said, super explosive. It's like, man, as an interior lineman, you got to be going, okay, you know, we just had the you know, the knuckleball and the breaking ball for a little while. Now all of a sudden they're just throwing the heater right down the pipe. And it's like, you got to get, I mean, to go from that style to this style it's definitely going to be a nice little diversity that the defense can throw at offense.
Absolutely. I can't disagree with that. I mean, being able to not only give your guys breathers, but being able to, the guy that you're bringing in brings a different skill set. Always is helpful. Keeps that offensive line and the quarterback on their toes. Guys, we're 22 minutes in. Please smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so that you are notified next time we go live. Please hit that like button. Please, if for nothing else, just hit the like button. All right. But if you want to help also, there's also the share button, right? The share it to your favorite social media, because that also helps a ton. And don't forget, like I said earlier, we have a donation link right at the top of the description of the video. You could use that to donate to the channel. All donations will help us get to training camp in the next 2 weeks. And then anything over will go to items that we will purchase, get signed, and do giveaways with those items, signed items, here on the channel during training camp. Thank you so much. Look, I think we're about to this point, dude. I want to get to the comments, and one of the big comments right now is Anthony Hurt, who I've just been sitting there staring at it for a while. Who y'all feel is going to have the most sacks this season?
You know my answer on this one. You know, without a doubt, it's Yannick Ngakoue. I mean, I'm really hoping that he comes in and he gives us that stability that we've been clamoring for since basically Robert Mathis. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we've had guys, and yes, they've been able to flash, but we've not had just a dude that's just constantly out there being a menace and stuff. And I do think that Yannick is going to provide that, you know, and like I said, let's don't sleep on Kwity. I mean, I know it's only year 2, but it's just something feels different about the Kwity situation and stuff than what we've experienced over the last several years. I mean, I know he had a little slow start with the injury, the hamstring and stuff, but it was soft tissue and totally has had time to heal. And he's going to be coming in there hopefully at 100%. And I love this young man's work ethic. So I'm thinking that it's going to be Yannick, and then I would say Kwity would be my number 2 guy.
I hope it's Yannick, just because of the trade. It'll make that trade worth it, because, you know, losing Rocky Sin, in my opinion, is kind of a hit. It's one of the reasons, I think, one of the big reasons why we went out and got Stephon Gilmore. But at the same time, if Yannick goes up, that's going to help my number 2 guy, and that's my favorite dude, right? DeForest freaking Buckner. This dude right here, beginning of the season, his first 4 games, all he did was complain about how many quarterback hits he was getting, but couldn't get to the quarterback, couldn't bring him down. He was hitting him, and he was getting pressures, but he just couldn't get the actual statistical sack. And then he started finally getting sacks here and there, right? I think he's my number 2. I think he'll have that double-digit sack number this year. That's who I'm hoping for.
Awesome. See, yeah, I'm thinking, like I said, for me, I'm looking at, I feel like Defo is just so proven in the league that he's always going to get the double teams. You know what I mean? And I really think that this is just a numbers game, you know, and you sit there and you look at it, like you said, that wide 9 technique puts all that pressure in the world on that tackle. You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden, Kwity's, in a man-on-man situation. He's got a motor like nobody's business. He's going to have more opportunities, I think, than a Dio or somebody else because of his experience that he did acquire last year, just with all the reps and stuff. And like you said, I mean, I understand pressures are important, but I'm so hoping that this will be the year that we can look at that sack number and look at that and be like, that's what we've been talking about. Because how we're always talking about Paris Campbell. Oh, if he could only stay healthy. Oh, well, I feel like for me, even more so because of it being the defensive line and that pass rush being so important. That's the one I'm like, man, if these guys can just figure it out, if these second round draft picks can get it all sorted out and stuff. And now that Chris Ballard said a couple of years ago, heck with that second round. We're going to put a first round draft pick in there, see if we can do any better there.
You know who played on the opposite end of the line of Yannick last year and was under Gus Bradley's scheme and was an okay edge rusher right up until last year, where he blew up and earned himself like $17 million, $20 million a year? Max Crosby. And he reminds me a lot of Kwity Paye, right? Very similar players, guys who use a lot of speed, a lot of bend, a lot of arm movement in order to get in there and do their job. And that's what I'm expecting, because let's face it, right? Under Matt Eberflus, we've talked about it. That specific position, that defensive end was meant to be the anchor in the run defensive game. All right. That's not what it's going to be like this year, as you talked about under Gus Bradley and Nate Ollie. This is going to be a pin your ears back, hairs on fire, go get the quarterback. If the run comes to you while you're on your way there, get it. But the quarterback is the guy you got your eyes on.
And I would think from a player's standpoint that's just got to be the best of everything. You know what I mean? Because, let's be honest, all these guys have talent out their ears. Okay. You don't get into the NFL without it. But the thing is, there's certain people that get held back by schemes or by a mindset even, oh, I can't, my job is to sit there and hold the line and let up, no, man, let Defo eat. Like you said, let them get those double-digit sacks, let the young second year, picks and stuff get out there and just let it rip. You know what I mean? That's what, they know that. That's, yes, they get some technique in college, but that's just the physical, blow by them and stuff. That's what you see so successful in the college. So that's not something you have to try to teach these guys. You basically just have to sit there and say, remember what you did 2 years ago in Michigan or, Wake Forest, go do that here. You know what I mean? And get that, like you said, get Dio out there. What was it? The Hurricane, and get Kwity out there doing all that hand work that he's been working on this year. And man, I am just, like I said, last year and the last couple years, I felt hopeful, but this year I just feel like there's something. And you listen to Kwity Paye and you watch not just what he says, but how he says it and the mentality that he's using to get to these points. And that's the thing that I see that's a little different than what you've been getting over the last few years.
The only thing that worries me about pin your ears back, hair on fire, go after the quarterback is gap integrity, right? Especially against mobile quarterbacks. Maybe your guy gets through. Maybe he gets a free shot. The quarterback then, we've seen it a lot last year, right? That's the one thing I'm worried about is guys like Bobby O or Darius Leonard or, Kamoko Toure or whoever it was at the time. Free shot the quarterback made a miss. He just runs right where that hole is now and he's gone. That's a worry that I have. And generally that don't happen under Matt Eberflus because he emphasized gap integrity. And the way it sounds like to me, gap integrity is out the window. If you're playing hair on fire, just go get the quarterback. You're not worried about making sure that your gap is sealed. You're worried about getting around your dude, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a worry you have as well?
Yeah. Yes, the rushing just in general, because like you said, now you're taking Grover and sort of rewind or reprogram, because he's not there eating up blocks. He's not there, now he's part of that 4 guys meet him at the quarterback type mentality. And like you said, you get some of these younger, more agile, like the West, you got Mahomes and you got Wilson and you got Herbert and heck, even Carr is really good at moving around and avoiding those tackles. I mean, remember, right? We talked about Darius Leonard, how he had that sack that probably would have sealed the game against the Raiders and just couldn't finish it. And Derek Carr made him pay. So yes, I do worry about that, but I also look at our linebackers, and if we've got a healthy Darius, okay, and Bobby O comes out and just keeps progressively getting better. I mean, Bobby's trying to get paid this year, so there's a lot of hungry mouths on that defensive front that they're like, like we said, Yannick wants to get paid. Bobby probably wants to get paid. He knows that if I don't do it here with the Colts, I need to make sure I've got good film and stuff. So like I said, I am really the speed of our linebackers. I love how that works with this scheme, but I do worry about the Derrick Henrys of the world sitting there and gashing us for 150, 200 yards and be like, okay, now we got to do it. We got to overcome what a lot of teams have to overcome with us with JT.
Right. Now, Nomadic Brian, when I was talking about Buckner, I opened that up with, I think Yannick leads the team. Okay. And that Buckner would be number 2. I think Yannick could get 12 to 14 sacks. And if he does, that's going to open the door for DeForest, who averages around 9 a season anyhow. Right. So if he gets 9 a season, and he started off slow last year because he was only getting quarterback hits, he could have a heck of a year. And I'm sorry, but if DeForest gets 12 sacks, that means the defensive ends are eating too. All right. I guarantee it, because that means the defensive ends are getting one-on-one, because if DeForest, you would rather to give up the edge pressure than right up the gut. And if DeForest is coming at you, that means he's beat double teams. All right. That's just all it is to it. All right. You don't want DeForest and Grover or DeForest and Dio, side by side, hitting when, you'd rather see the edge guys get that, because coming up the gut, the quarterback can't step into a pocket. And that's the biggest weapon, the biggest way a quarterback has to evade a sack. Go watch scrambling quarterbacks when they get pressure right up the gut. Guess where they run? Backwards. Oh, that's how you get the 25-yard sacks, right? Go watch a few games from Kyler Murray or Wilson, right? And go watch highlights of DeForest Buckner against Wilson, okay? And you'll just see him just chasing him backwards. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. All right. But yeah, quite frankly, because of what we have across the D line, if one group, whether it's the edge or the middle, starts to overplay their position and play better than normal, then they're going to get more attention and leave one-on-ones for the other group. And it's, again, pick your poison. You want it from the edge, you want it from up the gut. All right. Because this Colts defensive line, I'm sorry. I think this defensive line is one of the best in the NFL overall with depth. I'm not saying they have the best talent at starting position, but overall with depth, I think they're top 5. They're top 5 in that aspect. But they're just, obviously there's no TJ Watt, or Bosa or something like that on the team. But boy, oh boy, when you have a whole bunch of 91s, across the board. Yeah. And I had to say that because that's Yannick's number. And that's a Madden thing. Everybody knows. You got a bunch of 91s across the board. That's scary. And DeForest Buckner's a 99. That's a reason why he wears the number, Madden, is because he should be a 99 on your game. All right.
Yeah, and something else with DeForest is, as we all know, the shortest distance for 2 points is a straight line. You get that interior pressure, and then you get somebody built like Dio or DeForest. I mean, they're like 2 steps and they're already got you 10 yards in the backfield. You know what I mean? And then you add in an arm, and all of a sudden you're 15 yards. You know, the thing is these guys can come at them, and like you said, let's put this whole pressure thing to the test. Let's see how all these quarterbacks are able to do whenever they're not being pressured in one area of the field. But, you know, like you said, up the gut and from the edges. You know, oh, you wanted to try to go out that back door? Grandma locked that thing up last week with the Yannick Ngakoue.
Right. Wyatt brings up a good point, something that I was talking about, him recalling the days of Freeney and Mathis, you know, running around the tackles, creating running lanes, and they just run where they had vacated, right? That's a problem that I'm a little bit worried about, but teams had issues throwing against us because we had good pass rush. We just gave up the run. But I will say that our linebacking core is better than what it was in those days, even though I really did like, you know, our linebacker. I thought Gary Brackett was a good linebacker. We had Cato June for a couple years, you know. We had talent there, but it didn't last, or it wasn't as good. I mean, look, I love Gary Brackett, but he's not Darius Leonard, okay?
Yeah, Darius Leonard is that guy that just makes things happen, and that's we know that's what Ballard has built this defense on. It's getting the turnovers and stuff. You sit there and you get, like you said, you get somebody rushing out to the edge. Yes, Gary Brackett, Cato June, those guys are all extraordinarily valuable to the team. None of them had the speed that Darius has, or Bobby. You know what I mean? None of them could cover like these guys do. You know, you sit there and you let's not forget our safety duo back there. You know what I mean? You sit there and you get somebody feeding out the edge, and then all of a sudden Julian Blackman comes up and says, "Oh, I love these moments." You know what I mean? Where he just sits there and just darts in there and gives his best Bob Sanders impersonation, but he stays healthy. And, you know, like I said, this defense it's all going to work so well hand in hand if, like I said, they get that brotherhood built up, get that understanding where and what everybody's objectives are, and how they can best help the team.
That's a terrible number. Brandon, you're banned. I think we get 30 sacks off 3 people alone. I think DeForest, Yannick, and Paye will get 30 sacks among them, just those 3 guys. I really do. I think DeForest will probably get about 10. I think Yannick will probably get about 12. And if that leaves 8 for Kwity, okay? And then, wow, that's 30. I think we can pull that off. All right.
Another thing, and I don't know, I would love to know from these guys, but, you know, when DeForest sits there and he's like sitting there at week 13 and he's like, okay, I got 7 sacks. But like you said, he looks over and Kwity's over there with 6.5 going, I'm going to catch you, old man. You know what I mean? I wonder how much of that, because I honestly think that as far as sack production, I feel like those two could really have this heated, you know, back and forth and stuff, you know. And like I said, I really think that Yannick is going to be the leader in the clubhouse, as he should be. But yet, like I said, I think that Kwity and Defo, I mean, if they could both squeak in 10, 11 sacks, that'd be spectacular.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. What's funny is I'm looking for his actual numbers real quick because I can't remember.
Whose numbers?
Oh, yeah. See, Yannick was drafted in the 3rd round, 69th overall, which, you know, kind of that's odd because Kwity, as we all know, was a 1st round pick, right? DeForest Buckner was a 1st round pick twice. That's how damn good DeForest Buckner is. He was a 1st round pick 2 different times. All right. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. We got a lot of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round picks across that defensive line. We should get the pressure. We should get the sacks. I'm hoping for at least 50 this year. That's what I'm looking as a total as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for 50. That's a big number to hit. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's plausible.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, this team, when you look at the Julian Blackmons, the Kenny Moores, these guys are such good blitzers. You know what I mean? I would love to sit there and watch Bradley. Sorry, I'd like to see you guys. I gotta be sidetracked. What was I saying now?
I have no idea.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
I messed him up. I got 5 points today. Yay.
I know but the thing is we're such a good blitzing team whenever we do, you know what I mean? Because like I said, Kenny Moore and Julian Blackmon are excellent blitzers. Darius Leonard, I think, healthy. Like you were saying earlier with this D line and eating up all those blocks. So I do hope to see a little bit more blitzing. I'm not sitting there saying that I want him blitzing 45% of the time or anything like that. But I would like to see a little bit more than what we saw from Bradley last year or from Eberflus over his whole tenure.
Absolutely. Hey, look, Brandon, there were 6 teams last year that had 48 or more sacks last year. Teams, okay? 6 had 48 or more sacks. Not giving up, actually defensive sacks that they've gotten themselves. Now, obviously, the Steelers were number 1. Then Minnesota, believe it or not, the Vikings were number 2. The Rams were number 3. The Bears, then San Francisco, and then who was the 6th? Who was 6?
Titans.
No.
Oh. I just remember that playoff game where they got 9 sacks and still lost the game to the Bengals. I was like,
nope.
No. I don't know. I don't
Miami.
know.
It was the Dolphins. Tennessee had 43 sacks last year.
Really? Okay, see. I thought they were higher than that. What the Colts end up with overall last year?
They didn't even make the list. I think they had something like 30.
I was going to say, I thought it was mid-30s.
33. Terrible. They were literally tied for 7th worst in the NFL. There was only one team that had less than 29, and that was the Atlanta Falcons, who didn't even break 20. Yeah, the Colts were tied for 7th worst in the NFL at 33. They better get a lot more than that, all right, because mid-range is about 40.
Something else I was sitting here thinking about is, we keep talking about like how defense is based off energy and stuff, and it's that mentality and stuff. And you sit there and you listen to Nate Ollie talk, and you hear his interactions whenever you sit there and see on the mic or whatever, and how this guy brings the juice. We sit there and we talk about Darius Leonard always bringing the juice. I got to believe that he's watching Coach Ollie going, oh yeah, you got a little something in there. So you bring that to that D line, and you bring that energy and just that mentality and stuff. I feel like this young, because honestly, our D line is young. Even Yannick is he's probably got one more contract at least, maybe another shorter one. And then you look at DeForest, he's got at least another contract if he keeps balling out and chooses to, stay with us or whatever. So these guys aren't old. Like I said, they all fit in the timeline of this roster. And the way these pieces, if you can get that D-line coach to get more out of these guys, get that higher revved engine and stuff, I think it's going to bowl really well.
Absolutely. And we already talked about that, Brandon, how it was a lot to do with scheme, right? It was a lot about, keeping gap integrity rather than getting pressure on the quarterback. They wanted to make sure their gap integrity was filled because we played a lot of scrambling quarterbacks that could just take off on you. Now, I prefer that against guys like Lamar Jackson. Let's play the gap integrity game against guys like Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, who we play this year, okay? We'll play that game. But if we're playing Joe Burrow, I say let the dogs loose. Let them go, all right? That's how I see that.
Yeah, I love, let's make these guys be these 2 seconds, gotta let it rip, Derek Carr style, because then, like I said, the secondary and linebackers, let them do what they do, fly around, get to the ball, make them to where, like we said, they still have to sustain these long, methodical drives. And then we keep hearing how Gus is going to be more aggressive and mix in a little man, hybrid coverage and stuff. You sit there and you put that pressure on these short routes. I have to believe that the turnovers, I know this sounds crazy because we did so well last year, but I have to believe that the turnovers have a chance of still going up this year over last year.
Well, I don't know if they go up. We had a lot of turnovers, and a lot of them were forced fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, Darius was in charge of 12 forced turnovers last year by himself, which is stupid. Just stupid. Okay. If he does that again and does it and is not in the defensive MVP conversation, I'm going to be pissed. Okay. But anyhow, yes, there could be more turnovers due to sacks, as Wyatt says. And then, of course, more turnovers means more snaps for Matty Ice, which means more offensive production. Absolutely. Pass rush is key to everything. Matt Eberflus knew that pass rush was key to everything, but he was too worried about gap integrity. That's the thing. And we're going to find out how important gap integrity is this year. Is it going to win games or lose games between, balancing gap integrity versus, pass rush? We're going to find out this year, and it'll be fun to watch. Nomadic says, put Mahomes on his back. Nice view for him when the roof is open. Yeah. Okay. I think we're about done here. I think we've pretty much covered it for the most part. Like I said, I can see 12, 10, and 8 for our top 3 guys, which is 30. You get 30 sacks from your top 3 guys. That's a good day. I don't care. That's a good season. All right. If you get 30 between your top 3. But where are you sitting at your total for your top 3 total?
Yeah, well, I think Yannick can probably get closer to the 14 range. I really do think that the benefit from that. I mean, yes, he had Max Crosby last year. I understand, but when you've got that guy on the interior, that is going to affect the people blocking him even more so. So I honestly think that he could get to 14, like you said,
which will be a career high for him.
Yes, and I, like I said, there's so many factors. He's looking for that. I mean, this will be the contract that sets his family long term. This will be that contract that he's trying to get. So, like I said, I feel like that's a motivating factor. The Defo is a factor that's going to benefit. But I would say Defo and Kwity, I really want to see them compete and try to both get, somewhere around 9 to 12. And just sit there and just keep feeding off of one another. Because that's another thing, we haven't experienced in the last. You guys remember when Freeney and Mathis got it going, right? The thing was once you got one, then they just started to snowball. And, and you go from, we had only 2 sacks in the first 3 games. But then the next 3 games, we ended up with 9. And it's like, that's the thing. These guys get that momentum and get that snowball effect. And then the turnovers. I just can't express it enough. You start getting into these quarterback slaps and stuff and making them think about you, now, instead of looking to see where the safety's at, now they're looking to see what's going on here at the line of scrimmage, which guy's going to be eating my lunch first. So, yeah, I think if between the 35 is what I'm hoping for.
Oh, wow. That's a big number.
Yeah.
Big number.
I really have super high expectations for Yannick. Like I said, you give him 14 and you put, 11
Dude,
more.
If our top 3 gets 35, you only need 15 more sacks for the rest of the stinking team to hit 50. All right. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate, hey, there's a reason why I have you on here. You are the ultimate optimist, and that is definitely optimism at its best. So, guys, please smash that like button. Appreciate each and every one of you. Love you all. John says, nice podcast. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please have a good one. and then I'll remember where my. Oh yeah, before I go, check out the Backroom Collection. Links in the description. Plus my merch shop. And don't forget the Patreon and my Discord. Wait, before I leave, hold on. No, I can't put it in there. I'll put it. Nah, screw it. Just look me up. Look me up. I got a Discord. We got a lot of people in there. As usual. Have a good one.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.
It's raining heavy outside. Like really heavy outside. Oh my gosh. It's raining Dios and Quitties outside. That is freaking nuts.